The Mavericks beat the Jazz, and Jason Kidd says post-game that the league has taken one thing away from them right now. Coming up on today's One More Thing of Locked On Mavs.
I'm here because I have to be.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machine. Don't let his lightness take away from his quickness.
You can rest later. You're young.
I'm in recovery here.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, it's a One More Thing. On a Tuesday, October 29th, the Mavericks beat the Jazz last night, and you are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris, longtime co-host of the show with Nick, formerly of the Dallas Mavericks, the 2-1 Dallas Mavericks, and here we are. I'm doing the show for the third time because my stuff, technology, let's go, not working. But we're locked on the Dallas Mavericks. Guys, one, if you haven't listened to Nick and Slightly post-game last night, you need to do that as they kind of recapped and vibed out about the win over the Utah Jazz. I want to make you aware of two things: that you can scan the QR code there on your screen on YouTube, or go to the description in our profile if you're listening to audio of our Locked On Mavs Subtext Insiders. This is where you get all the latest information. You get text sent straight to your phone. During the game, non-game days, Q&As during the week, different things with that, kind of behind the scenes stuff every now and then. So make sure you do that. And then lastly, we have our free newsletter. This is a brand new thing. And guys, we want to be number one on the network. All right. We can't let the Kings, the same guy who joked that they made the right decision taking Bagley over Luka. I think they have more subscribers than us right now for their newsletter. It's free. So literally take every email that you have and then just sign up for this free newsletter. It sends articles to you. It sends it's one email a day, and in this one email you get the latest Locked On Mavs episode, you get past episodes, you get stuff from around the league, fantasy stuff, but it also is like a one-stop shop where it brings in articles about the Mavericks both locally, nationally. You're probably reading already, but you just get it in one email newsletter sent to you. So it's just one email a day and it's free, so make sure you do that. All right, let's talk about Jason Kidd and some stuff he talked about post-game last night. So as Nick and Slightly were trying to figure out their technology last night from inside the arena, I was in the post-game presser, waited on Kyrie forever, and finally, honestly, and just being honest with you guys, I left because, yeah, they're flying to Minnesota. They were flying to Minnesota last night. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning, and I never do Tuesday podcast or morning podcasts, so we'll see how this goes. But I was there for Jason Kidd. I was there for Derek Lively. Luka didn't talk. He probably didn't want to talk to anybody after that type of game. Shout out to the Mavericks for winning that game, despite Luka and their shooting and all of that stuff. You got to be able to win ugly games, guys. And they did. But Jason Kidd was talking post game, and I actually asked him this question and brought up him. He brought up some other stuff, and it prompted some follow-ups later on. But I asked him a question because I thought they specifically were trying to get PJ Washington going early on. PJ struggled against Phoenix last game, and it felt like they were just making a little bit more effort to get him going early on. So I asked Jason Kidd, I was like, hey, when you get somebody else, when you get somebody going early on in the game, how much of that is game plan and how much of that is based off what the defense is giving you? And he kind of said two different things. Well, one, he started off and he's like, it's purely what the defense is giving us. But he also, I want to mention this first because I want to go on the bigger story. He said, when you're getting somebody else involved early on, and he's probably referencing to like a Luka or Kyrie, he's like, it's unselfish, right? And when you, but when you get somebody else going early on, it just opens things up and makes things so much easier for your team later. So, so anyway, he basically said, you do what the defense is giving you. And he says right now, the defense isn't trapping Luka at all. So if you go back to we've talked about how teams defend Luka now for this is the seventh season. We were doing this podcast when Luka, before Luka got drafted in Dallas. We were doing this podcast the night that Luka got drafted in Dallas, which was a fun night. Could have been a bad night, but it was a fun night. That Mark Stein tweet that night about the Mavericks hesitant on trading Wesley Matthews for Kent Bazemore, and that could have held up the deal. That still worries me, and it didn't even happen. But when you go back to over these past 7 seasons, we've talked about how teams defend Luka, and you basically got to pick, right? You're going to live with him getting 45 and try to take everyone else out, or you trap him. You get the ball out of his hands and says, you know what? I'm going to live with a Derrick Jones Jr. beating me, or a PJ Washington, or whoever it is. That's what some teams tried to do last season and didn't work as much. So right now, to start the season, teams aren't trapping Luka. They're kind of daring the supporting. They're kind of daring Luka and saying, "All right, Luka, just kind of like do your thing." But even more on top of that is you look at the team approach, and this is where he takes it a next step further for Jason Kidd. And I thought it was fascinating because it's something we've been talking about too. It's something we were actually talking about with David Locke before the game in the media dining about how teams are kind of defending Dallas. And Jason Kidd says this. He's like, right now they aren't trapping Luka. This is post game after the Jazz win, and he says we're getting the quality of shots. We're just not knocking them down. He said the league is taking the lob away. The league's taking the lob away from us. Like this is what he's saying, and it's like a little over exaggeration because you've only played 3 teams in the regular season, but to his point, it's true, right? Like, and this is kind of like how you defend Luka. Teams kind of got to like pick your poison with this when defending this Mavericks team, because once they got Klay Thompson this offseason, we were saying on this podcast, we're like, listen, team, like this is going to make virtually, this is why I was like very adamant of like, dude, I think they're going to be the best offense in the league, because I think it's virtually impossible to defend this Mavericks team. I think for this Mavericks team, like, you have the guys on the perimeter. You have a Klay, you have a Kyrie, you have a PJ Washington in the corner. You have Luka running a high pick and roll with Lively or Gafford. Okay, like how do you defend that, right? Like you're either going to get a lob at the rim, you're going to get layups all day with Luka, or you're going to get wide open threes. And I'm like, I just don't understand. I'm not trying to be like biased Mavs guy here, but I'm like, I just don't understand how you're going to defend it. And I don't think, and teams are looking like they're feeling the same way because they got to pick. And right now, to start the regular season, as Jason Kidd says, the league is taking the lob away from us. They're packing the paint. And this is what they're doing. I mean, I think I forgot who asked Jason Kidd after that. They're like, hey, well, how are they taking the lob away from you? And he's like, I mean, you're seeing it just like I am. Like, they're packing the paint and they're daring us to shoot, and we're getting wide open looks. And this is why he went on to say, he's like, if we're getting these shots all season, I believe we're one of the best offenses in the league. Going back to what I said earlier, he said, we're getting quality looks. We're just not knocking them down. You look at last night, they were 11 of 39 from the field, or 28% from 3. In the first half, they sucked from 3. So far, these teams are saying, I know you have Klay Thompson. I know you have Luka. I know you have Kyrie. I know PJ's in the corner. Don't tell OKC that. And they're honestly saying, we'll just kind of live with the open threes, because we're just not going to be these teams that watch Lively or Gafford throw down a million lobs a game. And I think this is fascinating. I love seeing strategy. Strategy is one of my favorite things to watch in basketball. And this is a strategy that's happening right now in the league when defending the Mavericks. Let's take a quick break, and then I want to come back and finish talking about this, because Lively had something to say about it too. And then a few thoughts from the game, if that's all right with you. Is it all right with you?
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
This podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Our friends over at Gametime are sponsoring this One More Thing and our Locked On Mavs today. I get it. Watching a game at home, it's fun. We have Mavs TV now. Thank God we have Mavs TV that we can do and watch these Mavs games. But nothing beats going to the games in person. There's some moments in the game last night that were just rocking, with Klay Thompson 3-pointers. Finally, that Luka shot at the end of the game. Some of that run there in the second half. The arena was it was just a lot of fun. There's nothing like being there at a live game. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier, and you can filter out the fluff. All the different fluff and fees and all this stuff. It can show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. What time is it? Gametime.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Oh, no, I'll play the music. Yeah, here we go. Back from break, baby. Guys, make sure you scan that QR code. Sign up for our free newsletter. I really don't want the Kings having more people than us. Please support us. It's like the deepest thing for me to tell you to sign up for the newsletter is like, I don't want to lose to the Kings. Please don't. Please don't let us lose to the Kings. All right, here we are. We're back. Derek Lively was also asked about the teams taking away the lob from them. And he said this. He said, hey, it comes down to us playing a different game. And he said, everyone watched us play the whole postseason, and we were Lob City last season, which is a lot of fun, right? Like, it's a lot of fun to think about whenever he's like, dude, we were Lob City last season. Everybody watched us play through the whole playoffs, even into the finals. They got to dissect our offense and all the game. And it's true, right? Like, no one watched the Mavericks more last year, or there wasn't another team besides the Celtics that people watched more of last season in the postseason than the Dallas Mavericks. And, you know, you're seeing all the best stuff too in the playoffs. So teams are looking at it saying, this is how we're going to defend the Mavericks next year. And they're kind of living with, so far, hey, we're not going to double Luka. Now, we'll see what the Timberwolves do on Tuesday night, as I'm recording this on Tuesday morning. I would assume they probably do the same thing, right? Because one, they have some good perimeter defenders like a Jay McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and two, they have one of the best anchors in the game in Rudy Gobert. So we know Luka likes getting the Rudy Gobert switch, and shout out to, I hope we see a bunch of flashbacks to last year when they just ran through the Timberwolves in the playoffs. But yeah, speaking of Derek Lively, he also was talking about how his game, and, you know, as a result, if they're taking away the lobs, then how else do you get the ball if you're a big like a Gafford or a Lively? And it's these like kind of dump downs. He's you know, getting the ball to them whenever maybe they have a smaller guy kind of on a pin down, or it's on a Luka or Kyrie to dump the ball down to him, and it's working on these little jump hooks, working on a little you know, some of these quick moves like that. And he said that's, you know, he said, Lively said the jump hooks is something he worked on all summer this past off season. So he's just trying to get better and better at it. And I already think he's good at it. Lively has a great touch around the rim and all that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of Lively's like adjustment to it. But this is the kind of like pick your poison. Like, if the Mavericks are going to, or if the league's going to try to take away the lob from the team, they're going to shoot a ton of threes. And I think that they're going to hit them. Like, I think it's just a matter of time. And guys, I'd love watching Klay Thompson. And it's just so much fun to see Klay on the floor, or when the ball hits his hands, like to feel like, ooh, that shot's going in. And it just looks so good. The release is so fast, especially the releases whenever he gets it and like they pass it, they swing it over to him in the corner, and he like catches it up top, and he doesn't like, it's just there's no like bringing it down type of thing. Like, I don't see how people do that. Like, that's just insane. And I think I have a new favorite play. I think my new favorite play this season, it's not the Luka step back. It's not the lob to Lively. It's not the Kyrie crazy finish. My favorite play this season is going to be the trailing Klay Thompson 3. Oh, I love it. He's just taking the mantle from Dirk for these trailing threes and all that. But the Jazz game was ugly. Just want to say that was just not a fun game. I mean, until that run in the second half, I thought both sides, it was just like a weird, ugly preseason game vibe. Jason Kidd, you can't have any opinion about rotations right now, because Jason Kidd looks like he's going to use these like first 10, 12 games just to throw stuff on the wall, see what sticks, and see what he likes, see different combinations of things. When Spencer Dinwiddie got up and was the first guy to the scores table to check in, I was like, oh, we're really playing with it now. And yeah, Maxey was out this game, so then Omax got some minutes. It's like, oh, we're having fun. And so ton of guys getting minutes. I think we're 13 minutes into the game, and 12 different Mavericks players have played already. So kid's just trying to, testing some things out, seeing what he likes rotationally. And the Mavericks, like, they were leading the whole game, but it didn't, like, it's like they didn't feel threatened, but like it was still an ugly game, still kind of close. I don't know. It was just a weird game. And the Taylor Hendricks injury was one of the worst injuries. I mean, it might be the worst injury I've ever seen in person live at an event. And I mean, the audible gasp in the arena when, he falls down, he trips on the floor. I'm sure you've seen the replay by now. If you haven't seen the replay, don't look it up. But he kind of trips on the floor, gets his foot kind of caught on the floor and falls, and he swings around like sitting down, and his leg is that way. And it's, I mean, everybody's so, like, you can hear that audible gas, and then it just goes silent. And just hate it for him, man. I liked him in the draft. Yeah. I mean, I asked Lively about it post game. I was like, have you ever seen an injury like that on the floor? And he said it just reminded him of the Gordon Hayward injury from, in the Boston year. So tough injury to see, tough injury for him, just young player, second year in the league. You knew it was going to be a growth, bigger season for him in Utah, and just really hate it for him. So hate it for him. I hope he gets back stronger than ever before. And recovery goes well this coming up year. And I guess we'll see him back next year. But guys, that's one more thing. Quicker episode. We'll be back tonight with a post-game show as they play the Timberwolves in Minnesota. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll catch you later on tonight. Peace out. Boom. I wonder if I should play some music right here. Let's try this.